Alright, hello and welcome back to Ashgabat Cat, so let's play that. Today, we're taking a look at... I kind of forget the name of the game. Just kidding, it's Forgotten Worlds on the Capcom Arcade Stadium. Well, let's get going. This feels like the kind of game where you just go in, continue, and keep playing until the end. So, I'm not even going to bother going to score mode. Did you finish the gameplay? What a beginning. What a beginning. So I already had to map the controls, so it's not a surprise. But, well, that's a surprise. But, okay, I was just lost on the buttons. Anyway, the joke behind this game is that you have to, press the buttons to rotate around your character. It's weird, man. It's weird. Like all those times in Section Z when I was like, man, I would like to be able to rotate and shoot the turrets on the ground. I can barely even, well, I mean, I can talk, but this is just going to be unconscious reflex talking at this point because, wow, this game takes a surprising amount of bootshop. Dun 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 dun. Oh, it's not Fantasy Zone, is it? I wonder where they got the idea for a shop in the middle of the stage. I wonder what other ideas Capcom stole from Sega. Let's see. Auto tracking missile. Whoa! How much money do I have? Oh yeah, you can see it very clearly in the upper left-hand corner, 4K. Well, I guess all I'm purchasing today is indecision, but I'll decide next time. Wow, this is... Ooh, oh my gosh. Wow. And here I was thinking Capcom was like at the end of their leash. It's like, oh man, Capcom, throw in the towel. Bionic Commando was shameful. You're not going anywhere. But then they released this game, and it's like, wow. I mean, usually you explain something to me like you're doing a horizontal shmup, but then you've got to rotate around, and it's not even like an extra controller. It's just like buttons. I don't know. It could have been an extra controller in the arcades for all I know. But I feel like one of the hallmarks of this series is that we pretend like arcades don't actually exist, and that these games just kind of magically showed up on MAME one day, and that there's no further context. Ooh, okay. But like, this works. It like works. Now, I don't know. I mean, Capcom will probably muck it up towards the end. That seems to be their MO, but for now, I'm very satisfied. Well, I was going to say I didn't even pay for this game, but no, I paid for this game. Capcom, you say what you want about them, but Capcom gets their money. And it looks like we're making progress. I assume we're making progress. We couldn't possibly not be making progress. Oh, you've got to just shoot the little plant guy. All this trash, don't even bother with the trash. Recycling, it's all a scam. Just go straight for the plants. Yeah. Well, at least Capcom's going for health bars. And it's not like a fake health bar like the plain game, 1943, where, I mean, yeah, you had a health bar, but it would also tick down over time. Well, actually, I haven't been paying enough attention to the health bar. Because, I mean, this game moves by really quickly. But I assume Capcom is not, like, slowly reducing your health bar as you go. That would be unethical. Did I beat it? Yes! Gotta get that money. Oh, cool. It shows you... You cannot stop me with Paramecium alone. What? Is there some context for that line? Is he implying that the enemies are like so simple in their composition they are as though they were Paramecia? Okay, I don't know if you can hear that music because I don't know what the sound balance, but like, basically imagine the shop theme from Fantasy Zone. Capcom. Ooh. Capcom, you itinerant thieves. You're just like, they'll never notice. Capcom. Just straight up ripping off Fantasy Zone. So I guess that gives this game like a strange amount of context where it's like Capcom must have looked in the arcades and they must have seen Fantasy Zone. I don't know if Fantasy Zone was doing well, but I mean, Sega sure likes to keep talking about it, and they made Fantasy Zone 2. They even made like a unique Fantasy Zone for the Genesis, and they did us dirty by not even releasing it in the US. They even released a European version, so it's like, you can still play it in English if you want. Actually, I don't know if it runs any slower. I don't think it does, because you can play it on a Nomad, or on a US Nomad. You can play it on a US system. The Genesis 3, probably. Don't take my words as actual tech advice. But, I mean, it kept showing up, so it must have been popular enough. So I wonder if Capcom's just like, Sega has Fantasy Zone, we need to have a Fantasy Zone. And I love how, hey, I'm using that body. Oof. And I love how, like, they're like, what should we call it? Well, we can't call it Fantasy Zone. Oh, let's call it Forgotten Zone. It's like, whoa, dude, that's a little too similar. Our legal team has advised us that title is a little too similar to Fantasy Zone, so let's change it to Forgotten World. And it's like, whoa, legal crisis averted. oh, just in case you were wondering where all the Lizardmen came from, clearly it was a belly of a star dragon the entire time. I also like how the entire UI just flashes red whenever you take damage. I see your tail there, dragon. You're not fooling anybody here. But I love how your entire UI flashes red whenever you take damage. Because, I mean, on one hand, you have a health bar. So to a certain extent, any sort of damage you take is sort of inconsequential. But, like, the red, it just makes it feel so extreme, so intense. I guess that really is what this game is. It's like, it's extreme, it's intense, it's visceral. Because, I mean, you'd think the rotation aspect would be, like, some sort of lame gimmick that the game just kind of milks, but, like, uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Man, it's almost easier to spend real-life quarters than it is virtual quarters. But, like, you'd think the horizontal thing, or the rotation thing, is, like, some sort of weird little gimmick that, like, the game is just doing to mess with you. But it's not a gimmick. It gives you that extra sense of control. Now, is this a sense of control you needed? No, but it's probably a sense of control that, looking at other games, you kind of wished you had. And it's like, everything about this game just draws you into the game. You get hit, screen flashes red. You defeat the enemy, screen shakes with explosions. There's explosions everywhere. The graphics are, frankly, amazing. Like, this game goes by at 80 frames per second. That's an impression measurement, not an actual technical measurement. But this game, it just comes at you hard, fast, and it's just, you gotta love it. This game is amazing. Holy cow. Capcom, what were you doing? You released Bionic Commando, and then, like, a year later, you released this game? I mean, I guess they just had their no bonus. No bonus, no transition screen. I'm sorry, pal. You suck. I mean, they didn't explicitly say it, but sometimes the harshest insults are the insults you don't even have to say. The other person just knows. You just know. Wow. This game. It's just everything. 1600. All right, let's spend it all. I want more gun. Give me the gun. Already have. All right, let's get some new information. The God of War hates to be attacked on shoulders. Hey, what a coinkydink. I hate being attacked by shoulders. Oh, interesting. So they even split out the prizes by player 1, player 2. That's, I won't say that's clever, but that's a nice quality of life thing. I don't think it would have mattered anything. I don't know why, but I look at that shop and I just think of Cuphead, where it's like you just kind of lazily buy these power-ups that, like, ultimately are mildly inconsequential. They just put $1 million quarters in there. That's what everybody does. You buy these power-ups that are, like, ultimately inconsequential, as you just as basically the standard shot is almost always the best tool for the job. That's not entirely true. Some bosses are entirely trivialized by other combos, but for the most part, you can just get by with the regular attack. I'm hoping that this game plays the same. Wow! That is a screen full of enemies, but it's not like in 1943 where the screen full of enemies and it's like, oh gee, I'm real impressed. What are you gonna do with all those enemies? Oh, you just hit copy and paste. This game, it's like they're coming at you from all angles, all sides, just everywhere. Everywhere is either an enemy, a shot, or just anything. I mean, like, the background is just a solid black, but it's like, have you even noticed that? Like, this game is just coming at you at 100 miles an hour, and you don't even have time, like, forget smelling the roses, you don't even have time to notice there are roses. There aren't roses, by the way. But it's just everywhere. Everywhere there could be a thing, there is a thing, and maybe I just appreciate maximalist game design, but holy cow, do I appreciate this. And also, too, like, the whole rotation thing, it's not that hard to get used to. I mean, you just move around and then you kind of rotate until you're, like, accidentally facing the right way. Come on, come on. Oh my god, is this... Wait, are we still on stage 2? Was that dragon guy I fought, like, not actually the final boss? It's also kind of weird, because it's like, I know Strider is coming up. Wow. I mean, people give shoot-em-ups crap for, like, not having good animation, but check out the animation on this dude. That is smooth. That is silky smooth. Man, can you imagine being the guy who had to animate the guy spinning around? But man, it is kind of weird, because it's like, I played Strider, I knew that game existed, and I'm playing this game, and it's like, this feels like a modern-day game. But then, like, well, a few games ago, it was Bionic Commando, which, that basically looked the same as Vulgus way back in the day. It's like, what happened here? What? I mean, yeah, you could even say it's like a technical improvement or something happened, but it's like, this is more than a technical improvement. It's like Capcom just, like, got their game together. They got, like, all their best developers together, and they're like, okay, guys, let's get back to our roots. Let's make some good games. Like, like, some people were working on Legendary Wings, and then they made this game, and it's like, what the heck? Legendary Wings, it's like, is this a game that it's like, do these people even understand what a vertical shoot-'em-up should be? It should be many things, but it should not be a horizontal platformer. It should not be a horizontal shoot-'em-up. Well, okay, maybe sometimes. But, like, you play this game, and it's like, wow. Whoever made this is like, they knew what they were doing. There's a lot going on here. Is this even... This feels like the final boss, and he's just, like, boss 3? Like, holy cow. What else is in this game? I mean, I know I say this a lot, and I know I'm suckered a lot by games just to, like, see what's next, but holy cow, man, I need to know. Did the war god really die? I mean, when have you ever killed a god? They always come back. Alright, time for... So, I mean, in Mario games, you got the grass level, the water level, the fire level, the ice level. I mean, that may be, but when have you ever had, like, the super trippy Egypt level? Like, holy cow. I thought Sega's developers were crazy, but Capcom, they're like, okay, Sega's beating us in the psychedelic department. Let's take some, we need some illicit substances to fight back. But whereas, like, Sega had some sort of nice, happy, nice, happy drugs that, like, make you happy and make everything nice pastels, and it's like, aw, everything's like a picture book. Capcom took the hard stuff that is like, okay, everything is Egypt. Also, there are snakes. Snakes everywhere. Don't question it, but do fight it. And it's like, oh my god. I did not think Egypt and snakes was, like, the god combo. Well, the god combo was last stage. But here we are. Transport speed varies. Transport speed varies, though. Like, that doesn't seem reasonable. Well, all I can afford is this sweet bounding shots. Wow, that is like all my money. This better be good. I like that speed power up though. It's like speed varies. It's like nice. Speed varies. Does it get higher or lower? It's like, well, it depends. I don't know if this power up helps. I don't know if this power up is permanent, but I do know that I intend to enjoy this power up for as long as I am gifted with it. Wow. This game, it's got like everything a good game should have. It's got sweet graphics. It's got an incomprehensible theme that, like, by the time you figure out what the theme is, like, the game's already over. So it's like you can't even get bored of it. It's got gameplay that, quite frankly, kicks. I won't say this is like the best gameplay I've ever played, but it's like, it's definitely gameplay that I would want to play. It's gameplay that like pulls you in. It works. It's got like nice responsive controls, but it also has like mystery and power-ups, because it's like, okay, you get the power-up and it's like, what's it gonna do? I don't know, man. I need to play the next level to find out. It's almost as bad as like Big Trouble in the Atlantic, where you could like, it was this beat 'em up where whenever you beat the boss, then you could play as the boss. And so every time you beat a boss, it's like, well, you have to put in a credit to continue playing. Well, you don't immediately die, but like you have to keep playing, because it's like you got to know what the boss is like. And I gotta tell you, 7 times out of 10, like, the boss is completely underwhelming to play as. It is not a satisfactory experience, and yet you feel strangely compelled. And so I feel like this game with that shop, it's really going for it. Because the other thing is, like, I feel like it's a very different mentality to Fantasy Zone Shop, even though they're even so cheeky as to rip off the background music. Because it's like Fantasy Zone Shop, it's like, okay, you know the core gameplay loop of the game, you know what each item does, and it's like you just gotta, you can buy things in the shop to kind of customize to your like preferred way of playing. And then also, because it's like, okay, you're customizing your so one of the defining characteristics of the Fantasy Zone Shop is that your power-ups go away after a certain amount of time. And so it's like you can never really make permanent progress with the shop. And so, like, you just get used to that, and then you start viewing the shop as a certain way. Like, the shop is a way to augment your abilities, but it's not necessarily the key to your abilities. Whereas in this game, it's like, no, man. It like, I've kept the bouncing on walls power up. In fact, this game, it's like, it's kind of laughing, chuckling behind his back, because it's like, this dude is paranoid that he's gonna lose these power-ups. It's like, dude, that's the entire point of the game. And let me tell you, that is the point of the game. Getting the power-ups and getting stronger. Wow. Imagine Metal Slug, but instead of like credit feeding, you could just buy better weapons and keep playing. Wow, why doesn't Metal Slug have buying weapons? Well, I guess that would kind of ruin the core gameplay loop of Metal Slug and ultimately devalue it, but still. A Metal Slug where you could buy weapons. I wonder what that would be like. Although I kind of feel like, I mean, it wouldn't exactly be Gunstar Heroes, but like, I kind of wonder if ultimately that would just feel like Gunstar Heroes. But either way, the fact that you like get these power-ups and you build yourself up as you go along, it is crazy. Is the boss over? I didn't even really start to conceive, like, I barely started to understand that I was in a boss. I was just having too much fun doing stuff. Wow, I almost had 30k Zenny again. But like, already the boss is just over. No bonus. That's what you get for credit feeding. A tacit disapproval. Not any sort of like real explicit disapproval. Nah. we're not a hardcore game. We are slightly disappointing you. Huh. The shop. Bullets bounce off the wall. Been there, done that. Ooh, firepower. Oh yeah. Sure. Let's get some armor. Let's get some vitality. Your share is gone. Like, your share is gone. That is... Oh, hey, now he looks like the cover art. Sweet. So you customize your dude enough, and then he starts looking like the sweet guy on the cover rather than just, like, the cool... Well, it's funny because starting the game, like, I already thought my guy was cool enough, but now he is just inarguably cooler. Wow. But it is kind of funny how they even, like, copied the timing of the show. Oh, he is just naked now. It is all gone. All, not to spec at all. Oh, man. But anyway, it's kind of funny how the shop has, like, the exact same timing as, like, Fantasy Zone. This game, this game is, like, the closest thing to Fantasy Zone, while, like, ultimately still not really being, like, Fantasy Zone in any meaningful way. Although I want to say Fantasy Zone was, like, I don't know, 3-4 years before this game? Which makes the decision to, like, kind of copy some of its bigger gameplay beats, like, it's ultimately somewhat baffling. Wow, I thought the game was getting a little extreme now, but it's like, we are past psychedelics. We're now into something even harder than psychedelics. That would be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That, like, does Ariaki take drugs? No, Ariaki is a drug. Oh my gosh. Everything, everywhere. I also love, okay, so the ones that are faces, it's like, that's pretty clear, they're faces, but what about the other ones? They look like the tree spirits from Princess Mononoke, but, like, they're not? Maybe they are? Yeah. Defeated by the X from Metroid Fusion Prime Mission? Wow. All video games are actually the same. Come on, guys. Oh yeah, did my armor come back? I'm beginning to suspect that it does not come back. I mean, well, if I was Capcom and I had the decision between doing something that was beneficial for the player or doing something that was against the player but did not piss them off enough that I could still farm credits off of them, yeah, you bet I'd do the latter. Whoa. It's kind of funny because, like, he shoots a beam in a horizontal direction, and it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to beat this terrifying enemy? And then it's like, dude, have you been paying attention to the game's central mechanic at all in any way, shape, or form? And I'm just like, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Oh, wow. Snake bosses are so much more fun when you can rotate? Huh. I guess I haven't really been, like, paying attention to whether they've done that a lot, but it does seem like there are a lot of situations where, like, the rotation is very advantageous for you. Because I feel like if you were, well, I was going to say a rookie level developer, but maybe an idiot level developer would also suffice. Like, you would devise situations where, like, well, okay, if you had an innovative new gameplay mechanic, you would try to devise situations where, like, well, okay, in the beginning, you'd want your player to feel powerful, so you're like, okay, yeah, let's play around with this mechanic, but then eventually you'd make a bunch of mechanics that, like, you design a bunch of enemies that kind of, like, make it so the gameplay mechanic is no longer any useful. But you play this game, and it's like, they're just giving you stuff all over the place, especially this level is like a freebie with the rotation mechanic, and they're like, gee, aren't you so glad we gave you the rotation? And it's like, you know what, Capcom? Unironically, yes. Oh, wow. Oh, well, that makes sense. So if you look at his head, it's not really a head, it's more like armor. And it's like, well, geez, maybe he's armored there. Don't shoot him there. Shoot him in the glowy thing. And it's like, well, okay, Capcom, when you put it that way, that is very obvious. But it's like, how the heck am I going to hit him in the glowy thing? He's got a metal thing protecting his head. It's like, well, duh, pal. Rotate around. What the heck? They don't even give you, like, story consistently. They just kind of flow from, like, stage to stage. In fact, this is a vertical stage. Where am I going to see the shop? I need the shop. That's my lifeline. But, like, oh, I guess he does not get his armor back. That's okay. It was cheap anyway. But, like, wow. There is, like, no transition. Oh, there we go. Question answered. The other question is, like, who is she and why does she have so many guns? And also, why isn't she just, like, giving us unit stone? Everything powers up. I want it so bad. Well, back to vertical. It's also kind of funny because it's like, yeah, you'd think doing a vertical shmup, like, it would kind of mess with the rotation controls, but no, it's perfect. Wow. This game. Also, let's see, so the gameplay mechanic, the moving, oh yeah, that's right, the stage transitions, or rather the complete lack thereof. Like, you beat a stage, and it's like, by the time you're even able to conceive of the fact that you have beaten a stage, you're already into the next one, and it's like, my god, man, this game is just amazing. Like, usually I like to idealize my video game experiences as like some sort of long, hazy fever dream where I, like, start a game and just keep playing, and then it all just sort of blurs together into a giant morass of video games, but here is this game, and it's like, it is just, you are living the dream. You can't get more of like an amorphous video game morass than this game. Dang. It is just everything. I also love how this boss, it's like, in a certain sense, it's counterintuitive, but on the other hand, it's like, no, I know exactly. Just search deep in your heart, and you know exactly how to handle this regenerating boss. There's no escape for you now. I don't know who you are. I don't even know who I am. It's like that meme. It's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what I am. All I know is I must rotate around and shoot stuff. Wow. I also like how... Oh, it's ancient Japan, of course. The logical follow-up to Antarctica. No, Egypt is ancient Japan, where we shoot a bunch of psychics, but also there are samurai too, because you've got to make it recognizable. Brand name recognition and all that. Wow, this game is... There is more game in this game than there are in most other games. It is just everything. And you can even... Is that a shop? Ah, it's a shop. Do I get the power up? You gotta be kidding me. You're joshing me, lady. You're joshing me. Ugh. Fine. I like how it also makes noises at you when you, like, take too long. They're like, hey, man, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a shop here. Oh, it's a shop. No. No. Is it making extra noises at me, or are those noises, like, already part of the shop theme? I don't know. Wait, did Fantasy Zone, did it even have, like, a character? Whoa. I had a train of thought, and then I saw the shriveled zombie dad. But, did Fantasy Zone even have, like, a character in the shop? I feel like this game, like, that's the signature Capcom twist, where they just change things up a little bit, but you slap a cute girl on things, and hey, people will forgive you for a lot of sins, and there is just everything. Wow. Because it's like, okay, screen is full of enemies, so it's like your first thought is, well, I gotta shoot the enemies. But then the screen is also full of bullets, so your second thought is, well, I should dodge the bullets. But as you kill the enemies, which, if you're good enough, well, okay, as you kill the enemies, then all of a sudden, then the screen is also full of coins, and it's like, well, I've got to get the coins. And it's like, it's the ultimate gameplay loop, and by the time you've collected all the coins, it's like, there are more enemies, and it's like, okay, by the time you've killed the enemies, there are more shots, and by the time you've dodged the shots, there are more coins, and it's like, it works. It just works. Huh. So I guess the key to making the ultimate arcade game is to just distract the player with just so much gameplay that they literally cannot even conceive of the idea of quitting the game. They just, like, flow effortlessly from scene to scene as though in some sort of extended fever dream, just playing the game. You know what? That's A-okay by me. In fact, the only baffling thing is, now that I've discovered true video game nirvana, why have no other game's really done this. I mean, I guess it takes like a virtuoso's touch to completely fill your game with content, and like rather than milk it for a million stages, just hurl it headlong at the game, at the player, just 100 miles an hour, just so confident that you're able to make more content than they could ever understand and parse. There's voice acting? Has there been voice acting the entire time? I don't think so. I think they probably saved it. They're like, okay, let's do voice acting on this one key line. And then, because the player has been so overwhelmed by everything else in the game, they'll start questioning themselves. They're like, wait, was there voice acting the entire time? I just haven't been paying attention? World's first auto-tracking laser. That would be awesome to own. But you know what? If I save up for it, weapon firepower increases. Okay, this might be a consolation prize. You can reincarnate? Nice. This might be a consolation prize, but man, oh man, is it a powerful consolation prize. But it's like, there's just so much game here, but it's not like an exceptionally hard to understand formula. I mean, you just have a bunch of talented people like pushing out a bunch of content. And it's like, well, it's easy to understand the strategy, but finding enough talented people, hiring, paying them, and having enough faith to just like toss everything at the player 100 miles an hour without any sort of regard to milking it. It's like, dang. That takes some guts. I will say, Capcom, with this game, you have shown you have guts. Like, I was kind of wondering at the beginning with, like, all these sort of Galaga ripoffs, Devious ripoffs, whatever else ripoffs, but it's like, Capcom is hitting a stride. And sooner or later, they're gonna release Street Fighter, and it's like, man, Street Fighter literally, like, defined a genre. And Capcom just released it as an arcade game. They're like, they released it like midway after, I don't know, this game and some other game, and they're just like, to them, Street Fighter is just this normal, completely normal game. And then not only do people play it, but then they even discover combos, and it just, like, they discover this bug that, like, accidentally defines, like, one of the biggest mechanics in video games, and it's like, man, to be a fly on the wall on Capcom, like, the 3 or so months between, like, before releasing this game and then after Street Fighter, and it's like, that must have been, like, one heck of a difference in Capcom headquarters. Ooh. What will happen in this boss? I also love how intuitive they made everything. I don't know, I feel like a lot of games, I mean, they kind of try to style on you by making it hard or making it a little, like, imparsible, but there's definitely a style of game where you just make everything completely easy. Well, not easy, but just completely obvious, and you just toss it at the player, and you're just like, yeah, I know it's obvious, whatever, man, it's still fun. And believe you me, it's fun. Just kind of going around, shooting stuff, rotating around. I'll tell you, I've not consciously thought about rotating once this entire gameplay. Well, that's not entirely true, but like, you'd think a mechanic, like, you gotta rotate around, you'd be constantly thinking about it, you'd be like, okay, gotta rotate, man, this is a hard mechanic to get used to. Like the grappling arm from Bionic Commando, it's like there, it's like, getting used to the grappling arm is like basically most of the game. But here, it's like getting used to the rotation, it's like there's almost no need. It's like second nature. Like, it feels so natural. I'm gonna play some other horizontal shoot 'em up, and I'll be like, man, why can't I rotate? It'll be like, the only games I can stand playing now are like this and Rolling Gunner, because any other game just does not give me the level of control I need, I desire. In their confusion, they hurt themselves. Got that bonus Zen, he's saving up for the ultimate laser. Oh, they have been talking. Maybe they have been talking the entire time. And I was too busy talking myself to hear them. Oh. Now I feel like, on one hand, I've been here before, but on the other hand, like, there is a lot of stuff coming at me. I can't even begin to think of whether I was here or not. Huh. I wonder if Capcom could have, like, reused some of these sprites in, like, other games, or if they came from other games. Because I feel like a little robot guy with a spike horn on his head. He feels vaguely familiar for some reason, but also I can't think of a game where he would fit in. Oh no, I'm thinking of the guy from Contra Hardcore. Hey, everything powers up, finally! Everything powers up! Whoa, can you buy multiple? You can't buy it. What's this? Bullets bounce off the wall. Pfft, that's kid stuff. I don't know what my shop strategy is here, I guess. Did everything power up? It feels like I got gypped, but, well, whatever. I will say, though, as far as a skill game goes, I don't know that this is necessarily a skill game, because there are a lot of hazards that, when they come at you, it's like, I don't know how you could reasonably be expected to deal with that. Especially because the screen fills with enemies and shots within, like, the span of seconds. Like, I feel like, well, also I don't know if you can professionally beat a beat-em-up, but I kind of get the impression you just take your lumps and, like, you do well enough in the other stages that, like, you can compensate for that. Oh. Out of credits. Unacceptable. I will like, go back to my parents. It's like, hey, can I have an advance on my allowance? And they're just like, why? And you're like, I need to get to the end of Lost World, Forgotten World. And they're just like, you know what? When you put it that way, I completely understand. And I am completely willing to fund your ridiculous habit. I don't even know if they're taking damage. You know what? Most games, like, this would bother me. I'd be like, nah, I don't want to play this game. I'm not making progress. But this game, it's like, I don't know. I just trust this game. Also, too, it does seem like there are a lot of enemies in this game that, like, don't really visually register them taking damage, but, like, they still die all the same. I also like how it's a marvel of intuitive, like, game design, because it's like, I know to shoot the big, like, this hook and grabber enemy. Like, I just know to shoot him in the big round parts, and, like, I don't even have to question myself. I don't even have to question if I'm right. I just know. And that is game design. Like, if you think about it, game design is almost like a language, and it's like, I understand this, not because I'm fluent, but just because you've simplified it into so much that I can do it. Instantaneous armor repair. Yeah, sure, that's a joke. Alright, I guess ultimately we will have to save up for that tracking laser. Although it is kind of funny how in a lot of games, they'll give you a tracking laser. It's like, oh yeah, no big deal. Here's a tracking laser. You just gotta choose ship C. But in this game, it's like, well, you want the tracking laser. You better save up literally the maximum amount of zenny, kid. Yeah, it is kind of funny how Capcom has their own, like, named version of currency that's featured in all their games. I mean, it's not that funny because, like, zenny is just, like, another Japanese word for coins or currency or whatever. But what is funny is, like, why would, in so many of your games, you prominently feature currency that, like, you feel somehow obligated to have your own sort of proprietary version of currency in your games? Kind of makes you think. Wow. 4 slashes and this, I'm dead. I don't know if this is the final boss, but the final boss is gonna be scary. Although I will say this guy is going down strangely easy. It's also very strange, like this mentality with the bosses where you just shoot them once and it's like, okay, you've done your round of damage. Because a lot of these kind of games, it's like they'll actually count the number of hits you do. And it's like, they'll make you hit every single hit. Whereas this game, it's just kind of like, nah, you hit the boss every once in a while. That's good enough for me. I mean, I know you're good for the rest. I mean, alternatively, that means you can't really sneak in extra hits. But I mean, whatever. This is way too easy to be a final boss. Famous last words? No. So how do you dodge his tracking laser shot? Because I may have had the chance to get the first tracking laser shot in the world, but this dude definitely bought the second. Come on, man. Cut me some slack. Okay, so I think you basically just have to rotate around him, which is made a little bit harder by the fact that his little air slashes home in on you, and like, well, also too, it's hard to get the rotation synced up with like the rotating around him, and also like the most consistent way of hitting him is to just turn horizontal and just stand still with that. Maybe that's the secret, like, he doesn't home in on you if you stand still? Or maybe it's like if you're below him, he doesn't home in on you, because, like, I don't know, the animation wouldn't work out. Well, I got bonus... Oh, that's a lot of Zenny.
I've done it. I'm still shivering. Yeah, me too, man.
He said, yeah, me too, man, but he didn't say peace. Now peace is around. That's kind of cool how they integrated the name entry screen as like basically made it feel part of the ending. So it's like they don't even need a timer to hurry you along. They're just like, nah, enjoy the ending, man. But also, what's your name? But that's okay. No one ever saw the two heroes again. I don't know why, but that just sounds so funny. It's like, I didn't even know who these people were. They never addressed themselves, and like, you know what? Maybe that was intentional. Okay, I'm going to have to check the timer, because like, this game just flew right by. I mean, I feel like it's really only been like maybe 32 minutes, but like, dang. This game, like, they just packed it full of stuff. Like, there's no secret. What they did, they just packed it full of a lot of interesting content and shot it at the player in like a giant shotgun burst, and it's like, dang. But I mean, it's kind of like saying, it's like, well, their secret was they hired the best people and made the best games, and it's like, well, what a secret. Can I do the same thing? And they're like, no, because I already hired everybody. That was good. Wow. I mean, I'm tempted to say it didn't feel like there were quite so many levels. No, it kind of felt like there were a lot of levels. June 88. So this really was like 2 years after Bionic Commando. They released this masterpiece, and it's like, Capcom. Are there like two Capcoms? Like, is Capcom so schizoid? Like, the guys who made Volcus, it's like, what happened to them? Were they the same guys who made Legendary Wings? Were they the same guys who made Forgotten Worlds? Like, I need to know. I need to know Capcom's history. Wow, I just checked the timer. It's 40 minutes. It has been 40 minutes. Usually, I notice 40 minutes. I'm like, oh man, 40 minutes. I don't know that I can handle that. But like, at the end of this, here we are. And I am just amped and ready to go. You know what? Okay, don't believe me. But I almost feel like saying I could play through the game again. That's how jazzed and or amped I am about this. I mean, I know I can't. You get to a certain point of experience and you just know your limits, and that is beyond mine. But like, wow. Wow. That was a game. That was a game. Forgotten Worlds. Well, I'm gonna have to not forget that one. I mean, this is usually part of the video where I like kind of hang out at this entry screen and just kind of talk a little bit more, but frankly, I've said everything. This game just drew everything I wanted to say and more out of me. I can't believe they started with a template for Fantasy Zone, and then they just made this game, and it's like, wow. Like a lot of these games that use Xevious' mechanics, it's like, man, I'd really rather go back to Xevious. But it's like, you play this game, and it's like, Fantasy Zone. I can never play that ever again. Give me Forgotten World. Huh. Well, you never forget your first good Capcom game. So on that note, this cat's got a scat.